Today's reading is from Rays of the One Light. Weekly commentaries on the Bible and Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. Our reading this week is How Devotees Rise. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it and your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Last week we asked the question, why do devotees fall? And we considered the downfall of Judas in this context. Jesus, in answer to Judas' criticism for allowing Mary to rub his feet with spikenard, a very costly ointment, said, "The poor always ye have with you, but me ye have not always." Jesus is saying here that there is one supreme injustice that needs eradication. Poverty, yes, but not of a material kind. Poverty in a spiritual sense. Divine blessings are not common in this world. They are extraordinary. When they come, we should give them priority above every other consideration. Never allow a moment of inner joy, for instance, to be set aside for lesser duties. Divine attunement is our highest priority. As Lahiri Mahashaya, the guru of Yogananda's guru, said, to listen to the heart's inner sound, Om, which issues from the very center of our being, is man's highest duty. Mary, on this occasion, was not communing in inner silence with Christ's Spirit, as she had been when Martha urged Jesus to reproach her for not helping out in the kitchen. Mary this time was serving outwardly, but in a very different spirit from the restless fussing for which Jesus had reprimanded her sister, Martha. Those who see a radical difference between the paths of action and meditation should understand this distinction. To serve in the right spirit is necessary, for only thereby can we overcome our karmic tendencies toward restless activity. The important thing is that the spirit be always inwardly focused, that in everything we do, we act in loving service to the Lord. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita says in the 3rd chapter, the state of freedom from action, that is, of eternal rest in the spirit, cannot be achieved without action. No one, by mere renunciation and outward non-involvement, can attain perfection. Whenever the Spirit of God descends upon you, however, remember the words of Jesus, me ye have not always with you. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Good morning, everyone. Our topic is, how do we rise? Well, I understand there are some people in our country who would like to see our country become great again. But I read a solution that if we could ban all pre-shredded cheese, we could make America great again. You know, we're blessed in this area to have these two great aviation museums, you know, the History of Flight and the Future of Flight museums, the great museums and so forth. Not that I've been, but I probably should. But did you hear about the Air and Space Museum? There's nothing there. Just wanted to see if you're awake and ready. Somebody said, Padma's brother, Roy, down in California, sent us a link the other day of Billy Crystal's eulogy for Muhammad Ali. It's very inspiring, actually. And this was a man clearly a great person in every way. He believed in himself, in his greatness. He understood that that greatness was not born of ego, that greatness had a role to serve and to share, a person who could get up after being destroyed and forgive his enemies, to stand up for what he believed in. Many of us here today lived through those years and have a more direct experience, at least at a distance, of that great soul. It was well worth reading, and that really is our topic today, is who are we? What is that greatness? How do we rise above our pettiness and our smallness, our frequent, all too often betrayal of even our own ideals, such as Judas. You know, Yogananda said Judas was a great prophet. What else could he be? To be one of the 12 disciples of Jesus. And yet he betrayed his master. A warning to all of us in every day. So how can we rise? You know, in our meditation teacher training, which just finished last weekend, those of you who were here joined us in blessing our graduates. One of our students there said she remembered that back when she first started taking classes here and was learning the precepts of what is called, not by us, but from ancient times, the Sanatana Dharma, the eternal truth, the eternal religion, the eternal precepts of the creation and the purpose of the creation, taught since ancient times and so forth. And she said that when she heard about this idea of cosmic consciousness merging back into the great infinite spirit, she said, I didn't come here to do that. That was pretty scary. And I said, boy, I never thought about that before. It always sort of sounded good to me from the beginning. And so we don't always know who we are and where we're going. Another question came up at our Bhagavad Gita class on Thursday night that was kind of fun. I won't reveal her name in case she's here, but anyway, she said, you know, my 18-year-old son, he was asking, well, what is all this about? I mean, here I am, and he didn't necessarily use these words, but I'm young, full of myself, and the world looks great. I'm life ahead of me. Why should I control myself, basically. It's a candy store, basically, And I said, that's a good question, because I remember asking that question growing up Catholic and so forth. We were really pretty efficient at the guilt thing, but we had an out. I loved it. Just go to confession. You can start all over again. When we were little boys, we had to make up bad deeds because we didn't really know what to say, and how bad could we be, So we'd figure it out before we went to confession and say, well, I didn't. So anyway, we really and truly don't know who we are. I think back to Galileo, you all know the story. He challenged Aristotle's geocentric theory, I guess, that the Earth was the center of the cosmos, such as it was known at the time. And what a lot of people don't know is the Greeks before it, we think of Aristotle as one wise guy, but in fact, he was sort of an idiot, pardon me, but he got it wrong, at least this part wrong, because in fact, his predecessors in ancient Greece knew that the sun was the center of our solar system, the heliocentric theory. But he got confused, and the dark clouds of the dark age was descending upon this planet, as some of us understand from the teachings of Yogananda's guru, Sri Yukteswar, who was an eminent astrologer who made some very precise recalibrations of the Indian calendar, which, like calendars in China and the Mayans and the Chinese and the Egyptians and even the Greeks, all speak of cycles of ages in which humanity becomes more virtuous, more intelligent, more perceptive, and ages in which the opposite happens. And so as that declining dark era, which we are pleased to call recorded history, came upon humanity, we lost track of many ancient truths and perceptions, and that was one of them. So when Galileo rediscovered it in the ascending arc of consciousness, which we are now pleased to call a new age and a modern age and an age of rapid progress and so forth, he was, of course, shunned. Why? Because the church at the time, in thinking that we, our earth, representing us, was not the center of the universe, that would be scandalous. That would render us not very important. Well, who is the us? In those darker ages, the only us there could be was this physical body. And so their idea of salvation was to have these bodies that were, I don't know, disappeared under the ground after hundreds, even thousands of years. The resurrection, they'd all somehow come back together like something out of Dr. Spock, and we'd get to have these bodies back again for an eternity. So what? You know, and strum harps. So their views were very much darkened by the inability to see beyond the obvious. Well, along comes the 20th century, and our little buddy Einstein breaks open the atom bomb. He basically drops a bomb on us, saying that essentially we aren't all that important. I mean, 100 billion galaxies, you know, the subatomic world, and now they're talking about multiverses, not just a universe. I mean, it makes us seem pretty not very important. And so, 20th century goes on a binge of, well, if there's no meaning out there, it's all about me. It's all, you know, materialism, communism, capitalism, exploitation. Hundreds of millions of people get slaughtered. Why not? Who cares? There's no meaning. John Paul Sartre, all that crappy stuff of existentialism. Well, so how are we going to solve that issue? Because the greatness that we once imagined in the symbolism of the geocentric view of the world is true, but it's not this body. It's not this ego. Our greatness is the greatness of our spirit. And only those who can transverse the two realities of spirit and matter, who in effect and effectively come back from that world, and we know the truth that shall make us free. It's not as if this wasn't known. It just was expressed in such a way that people could relate to. So Jesus raised himself from the dead. You know, Yogananda, our guru here, though he did it quietly and only in the presence of a few people, was said to have raised several people from the dead. The power we have to explode an atomic bomb, the rapid pace of progress that we've seen in our lifetimes in the last 100 years is just a hint at the power that we have. And so in order to save ourselves as a planet and as a people from that hopelessness that seems to grip our young people, they don't have that much to look forward to. We see a declining standard of living in our country with no end in sight. We are afraid as a people. Where is the security for that? The security is the kingdom of heaven, as Jesus said, is within us. The security is that I'm not this body anyway. The security is the simple fact that I'm not going to get out alive, so to speak, in this physical body. How we rise spiritually is to recognize the truth. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have a few memories of my, being not an infant or anything, but I mean, we don't even know where we came from, for heaven's sakes. And then we gradually grow up and we think we're in charge of everything and we want this and well, we don't. Why should we have any desires? It's not our world. The woman Saint Anandamayi Ma, featured in the autobiography of a yogi, Yogananda's now spiritual classic life story, was asked by somebody who was complaining and lamenting about the state of the world then, probably during World War II, I would guess. She said, don't you think he who made this world knows how to take care of it, knows what to do with it? We forget that it's a school. And like our Living Wisdom School, which will be moving here shortly, yet another is at the 4th or 5th location we've had. We struggle to survive, but we're survivors. We're going to survive because of that connection with Spirit. And this is a school, and when you graduate from school, you move on. So the school doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't collapse just because you've graduated. This world is a school. I like to tell the story how years ago when it was more common that I would, be with a work party at Ananda at the Ananda Village in California or here. In fact, I remember painting one of our many schools here with Nivritti. You spread paper down, right? And you spread the paper down, and being sort of a mental wonk that I am, I'd got more interested in reading the newspaper on the floor than painting the stupid wall, which I find kind of boring. And so, hour later, I read all these interesting articles, but then I remember to look at the dates, and some of them were like, years ago, depending where the newspapers came from. It didn't matter. They could be today. They're all the same. It's the same news. I don't mean to be lacking in compassion. I'm just saying, let's look at things as they are. Okay? I mean, this world has its ups and downs. The poor, as it said in the reading, ye have always with you. Now, no one could accuse Jesus Christ of being lacking in compassion. That would be absurd. And yet he said what he said. I guarantee you he wasn't a Republican. No, never mind. Just kidding. In fact, sometimes I think he was a Republican, because you know what he said? He said, to those who have, more will be given. That's a direct quote. He said, and to those who have little, that which they have shall be taken. I'm just repeating what he said, right? But in fact, that's what we're talking about. What are we talking about? We're talking about those who have more, who have a greater sense of who they are, who they really are. And I'm not talking about the ego. I'm talking about the soul, the Spirit. Those who have Spirit, who look to Spirit for what they need to do, what they can do, what their potential is, they will receive more. I came that ye might have life more abundantly. Well, I'm alive. I mean, was he talking about existence? No. Taking pills or not being ill or unhealthy, that's not life. Being alive is to be vital, to be creative, to have confidence, to go beyond your comfort zone, to do things that no one perhaps thought you would do. I think back to being age 25. I had a whole career in front of me. Could have made a lot of money. Had a family firm I could have joined whenever I wanted. But I didn't. There was a light of inspiration that came even in the midst of everything that was within my grasp. I had 2 Porsches, I had it all, and could have had a lot more. Nothing wrong with it. I like my Porsches, but this wasn't enough. I remember one time up in the hills above San Jose, just pedal to the floor, just steering wheel just like this, just going around these corners up in the mountains towards Mount Hamilton, the observatory. And it was then that I had my epiphany. I said, boy, you're an idiot. What a stupid thing to do. If there goes a cow around the other side, I don't know that I'd be in heaven, but I certainly wouldn't be in this body. That was when I woke up. And so in that waking up, I don't know where that came from, but that light descended. I sold everything. Within months, went to India. Changed my life. And so it is. We see, and I'm sure there are many stories right here today. I think of our own teacher and our friend, founder of Ananda, Swami Kriyananda, 1948, New York City, puts his mother on a ship to Cairo to join her father. He was a geologist. In that moment, and he was very, very close to his mother, in that moment he buys a double-day Durand in uptown Manhattan. He buys Autobiography of a Yogi. In 24 hours, he was on a bus to Los Angeles. Hadn't really knew anything about these I mean, who knew about karma and yoga and stuff in 1948? Practically no one. So many of us have stories like that, where the light comes, and inspiration comes, and it changes your life. Now, it isn't always that dramatic. In fact, for most of us, it's just simply, for some of us, it meant coming here today. Because you all had better things to do. There'd be wonderful places to have breakfast or sit around. I mean, you mow the lawn. No, forget the mowing the lawn. But many other things you could be doing that would please the ego. But you're here. It's the choices we have moment to moment is what determines our life. And those choices having to do with the people that we associate with is crucial to the direction of our lives. Anandamoyi Ma, I mentioned her a few moments ago. She was illiterate, a saintly soul, clearly. And as she went through life and her reputation spread, she made no effort to do so herself. People came from all over India, scholarly types and so forth, to ask her abstruse questions of philosophy and of the scriptures, though she couldn't really quote any of them. And she said that, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, it'll come back to me. She said a lot of things, but actually she didn't say too much. She was pretty quiet. But without that learning, she had that contact with intuition, with that light, and could say things to people that they themselves couldn't see. When you say to yourself or to your friends, I had an idea. Fair enough, I had an idea. But have you ever stopped to think that you don't know where the idea came from? You don't. You take credit for the idea, don't you? I had an idea. But you don't have a clue where it came from. Now, maybe if it was an important idea to your work or your health or your relationship or something, you might have put a lot of thought into the problem, studied hard or whatever it might be. But studies on creativity and our own experience validates the fact that typically the idea might come in a dream. It might come when you're in the shower, like it does to Padma all the time. I wish he wouldn't take so many showers. He gets all these new ideas, and of course, gets stuck with them. I get my ideas when I run, which is why I run very short, and I don't get that many ideas. If I could record my talks while running, they'd be great. But anyway, but where do these ideas? We never stop to think about it. Now, it's true, Einstein had his big idea, and I sure didn't have his big idea. The little ideas I get pertain to me. So, yeah, they're very personal and they're very relevant. But nonetheless, do we ever stop to think where they came from? Probably never. You see, what is most important to us is that which we cannot see. It's the life that dwells within us. It's the vitality that we have access to. It's the inspiration that we draw upon in our life. And so it is in this age where we can explode the atomic bomb. We are at least prepared, open to realities that we can't see, touch, taste, or smell. And this is a wonderful opening for us. That realm which Yogananda coined as superconscious is the divine realm of our own soul, of God, but that's all just theology. Superconsciousness we all use. Sometimes it's to find our car keys, which admittedly is more memory, but I'll take what I can get when I need my car keys desperately. But though that aspect of our life, our teacher, our founder, who wrote many hundreds of pieces of music and many books, showed us too how inspiration, access to that realm of inspiration and ideas could be placed at will. He taught us how to do that, focusing at the spiritual eye, for example, having what Jesus said, pray believing, not being the beggar of former times, but have strength and to know that that is ours if it is right for us to have. To rise spiritually means to let go of the shackles, the hypnosis of the body and ego in order to be open and receive. It takes a great deal of effort to meditate, of course, to concentrate the mind at the horizon line of the point between the eyebrows, to look up. It takes courage, it takes humility every day to awaken and just open the heart and pray in your own silent words to guide me this day. You don't have to believe anybody else. Spend a week, a month, doing this every day, offering your life to a higher power by whatever name you choose. And you will find a flow of inspiration. You'll feel it in your body because it's energy. It is, life itself is divine. The world itself is a manifestation of divinity. And it's only when we can open to that reality do we find life and receive life abundantly. And this is the salvation of the planet's challenges. Imagine, I think of John Lennon, imagine, he said, imagine that everyone on this planet dropped to their knees or sat on their cushion or chair each morning and prayed for guidance, stilled the restless turbulence of the mind and the ceaseless turmoil of desires and hurts and so forth in the heart, and opened themselves to a flow of grace and inspiration. We wouldn't need any legislation. People would want to live in harmony. They would see the entire world as divine, as one another, as divine. This is what we're doing here at Ananda, not exclusively. Millions of people are doing similar things. Yoga itself, meaning the conscious withdrawal of the life force from the senses, from the world around us, gathering that life force in the inner domain, the inner sanctum. Jesus said, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will rebuild it. He was referring to his body. The kingdom of heaven is within you. And when we withdraw that life vitality, even for a few minutes a day, back to the true temple in which dwells the Spirit, then this is how we rise spiritually. We literally lift that energy of the open heart to the window of enlightenment here at the point between the eyebrows. Look up unto the hills, saith the Lord, from whence cometh your salvation. It's not complicated. It is simple. But it does take both humility and courage, two sides of the same coin, in order to rise. It doesn't matter what we've done in the past. You know, when I meditate or often during the day, I try to feel that life presence. And that life presence, whether it is as much in me as it is in, a terrorist or a Hitler or the greatest evil person, that life vitality is the same. God is untouched by his creation. God is present in every atom of the creation. But we make that choice. Oh, I know what I was going to say about Anandamoyi Ma. She was once asked what was free will. Her answer went like this. She said, free will is like you're in a train. India had lots of trains back in those days. And the train is still the greatest railway network in the world. And the train's traveling towards its destination. And your free will is the fact that you can walk up and down the cars. But you're on the train. And so it's going to take you to your destination. Why'd you wear a blue? I know why I wear a blue shirt, but never mind me. Why did Jan wear that outrageous shirt of his? I don't know. Because he's an outrageous guy. But we don't know why we do anything, really. We might attribute reasons to it. I ate because I'm hungry. Okay, that's pretty dumb. That's pretty pedestrian. But as to important things, the people we take on as a life partner, it's not about reason. Wake up. All those things we come bundled with. Our only real choice in life is to look up, and receive, or look down and grab for me. It's basically that simple. The rest of it's just details. We don't live long enough for the details to be all that important. Our importance comes to the degree that we connect with the divinity which is in all life. When we are guided by that indwelling presence, this is what makes us great. We're connected. We're free. We're able to be. What a great blessing. Thank you.
I'd like to read from Whispers from Eternity, Yogananda's words. I beheld thee hiding behind the flowers. I looked at a flower and prayed, suddenly, O Father, I beheld thee hiding there. It exuded to me the perfume of thy presence. I saw the blush of thy purity coloring its petals. It was the gold of thy wisdom that shone in its heart. Thine all-embracing, upholding power filled its delicate calyx. The mystery of life and immortality lay in the pollen, lifted by the bee when it tasted thy sweetness. O teach me thy wonders of creation, which are hinted at in even the tiniest roadside weed.